So, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to social media and putting content out, it's kind of become a standard at this point, a necessity at this point, if you're an artist, to put out as much content as you possibly can. And not just your songs, not just uploading clips of your song over and over again, but finding different ways and different lanes that you can get into to upload content that could feed not just your fans, but the general internet watching audience, social media participating in audience, to try to bring them into your world and get them to pay attention to what you got going on and to try to get them invested. You see, artists will find different ways to go about this. Artists like Lotto and Action Bronson, they'll try to upload cooking videos to show off their cooking skills. Then on the flip side, you might have an artist like T Grizzly who will get into like live streaming himself playing video games like Grand Theft Auto and building a following doing that. And then, of course, you have artists who get into doing podcasting, whether it be music related podcast or whether it be pop culture related podcast or whether it be a dating podcast or whether it be, a sports related podcast, right? Artists are trying to put as much content out as they can to connect with people and to get traction on social media. Even now, what I'm doing, for you guys who don't know who I am, my name is Mfasis. I am a rapper and producer. I put out 4 albums independently so far. I'm working on my 5th, and even now, this right here what you're watching is a podcast. This is me doing my own podcast, and I've gotten some traction with my songs, but at the same time, I understand that in the grand scheme of my content creation journey, I do need to branch off into other things like everybody else has been doing. That's just natural. But even though that's the standard now, once upon a time, this was actually not the standard. This was actually a taboo kind of approach that artists didn't want to get into because once upon a time, a lot of artists they wanted to maintain a certain air of mystique around them. So they wouldn't dare make Instagram accounts or, vlog or do any of these things. And I wanted to take the time in this video to talk about artists who I believe are like social media pioneers in a sense, if that makes sense, like guys who were on the wave of social media content creation before it became commonplace. And I wanted to talk about a few of these guys here. So, and I'm not going to do this in any particular order. This isn't like a ranking. This is just me naming 4 people in general. So, the first person I wanted to talk about here is Soldier Boy, otherwise known as King Soldier or whatever, Mr. Draco, whatever you want to call him. He was the first person to drink water, first person to breathe oxygen, first person to blink his eyes. Everything we have, we owe to him. Not really. But on a serious note, though, Soldier Boy, one thing Soldier Boy does deserve credit for is being one of the first artists in hip hop to leverage getting attention on social media into and then parlaying that into a successful music career. So, for the people that might be too young or too old and don't really remember the rise of Soldier Boy, I remember it. I was a kid in like elementary school, so I witnessed it in real time, and it was very interesting, of course, right? Like Soldier Boy blew up originally on MySpace. Well, he was doing several different things, whether it be putting up, basically baiting people on LimeWire to download his song, but then listing it under somebody else's name, like a popular artist, like um, Britney Spears or something like that, whatever. And he would that's one thing he did, but really what blew him up is just getting on MySpace and then also getting on SoundClick, but mostly MySpace. Like he again, he was going extremely mega viral in the early to mid 2010s. Like it was insane. And he also put out the biggest song of his career and one of the biggest songs of the 2000s, which was the Crank Dat song that was accompanied by the Crank Dat dance. I don't know if the dance is called the Crank Dat dance or the Soldier Boy dance or the Superman dance, whatever you want to call it. Either way, that dance went mega viral. And in my opinion, that ushered in the viral dance sensation concept into the social media age. Yes, you had dances in previous generations that became these, these big cultural phenomenons that everybody wanted to do. Like for example, the cha-cha slide, or or another example would be the Macarena dance. But in the case of Soulja Boy, I do believe the Crank That dance ushered that same sort of concept into the social media age. The song Crank That blew up. Soulja Boy's MySpace was blowing up. And now, you fast forward to now, artists are uploading content to social media, trying to get it to go viral all the time. But again, at this time, most artists weren't doing this, especially in hip hop. Now, I'm not saying Soulja Boy was the only artist, period, to do this, because there were other content creators at the same time doing this, but they mostly weren't really in the hip hop space. Like, you got artists like the singer Kobe Calais. Her song Bubbly blew up on MySpace, but obviously she's not in hip hop. And then also you got the comedian Dane Cook. He also was putting up videos and blowing up on MySpace around the same time as Soulja Boy as well. But again, he wasn't in hip hop. So as far as hip hop goes, I think Soulja Boy does deserve credit for that. Next person I wanted to get into was Joe Budden. Now, Joe Budden, he's very popular now, of course, because of his podcast, but quiet as kept, he's low key been building towards this for a while. He's one of the first artists to kind of do like vlog videos on YouTube. Like to this day, I think he still has the video of him interviewing Drake in like 2007 or something like that, or 2008. It's you could tell it's old because of how like bad the video quality is, like, and it's all pixelated looking and stuff. But even beyond that, he would also upload like random day in the life type vlogs with his wife or girlfriend or whoever that lady was from Love and Hip Hop. Her upload vlogs of them together and stuff like that. And even before that, like way back in the day, back in like 2002, there was a point where like he would kind of fill in on Hot 97 as like a guest host, basically like hosting the day, hosting the talk show and the morning show for the day. And I was trying to find the clip. I was trying to find the clip on YouTube, but I couldn't find it. I know it was there at one point, and I'm not making this up. This did happen. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I do believe at an early point, whether you want to say it was 2002 or whether you want to say it was like the late 2000s, either way, at an early point, he was clearly eyeing the concept of trying to pivot into a space that's still in music, but instead of being on the artist side, it's more of into like the personality, media personality side. And I do think he got exactly what he wanted. Of course, he's bigger, he's more successful than he's ever been. And even with him doing his podcast, when he started his podcast in 2014, I think it was 2014. I don't know what year he started his podcast, I'm guessing. But either way, in the 2010s, in the early 2010s, when he started his podcast, again, whether it be the vlogs or the podcasts or your guest hosting radio shows and stuff like that, at that time, artists doing that was something that was low key frowned upon, because the narrative was, if you're doing that, you're a failure. And now, because you're a failure, you're trying to pivot into something else to save yourself. And now that's no longer the narrative. Now every artist is trying to do that. Every artist is trying to, not they. Every artist is coming right out the gate with their other forms of content, just to to try to get traction, because people have short attention spans, and you just putting out a 3 minute song or a 30-minute album is not holding people's attention like it used to. Another, speaking of vlogs, I wanted to get into Wiz Khalifa. That's another person I would put on this list. Wiz Khalifa, again, he's another guy who blew up in the late 20 the late 2000s going into the early 2010s. Again, I witnessed this in real time because this is when I was in middle school. I was graduating middle school when Wiz put out his classic mixtape, Kush and Orange Juice. He's another artist who was one of the earlier guys to get on the wave of vlogging. And to this day, he does his vlogging. To this day, his vlog, I believe the series is called Day to Day. And to this day, he does it. I do believe that's helped him definitely maintain over the years. And build a strong connection with his fans. Last person I wanted to mention was Little B, aka Bass God, the legendary Bass God, the man that will fuck your bitch. Little B was an artist who originally was in a group called The Pack out of the Bay Area, if I'm not mistaken. He blew up as a solo act during the early 2010s. He, in my opinion, was one of the earlier examples of what people would now call like a, I guess, like a meme rapper. And regardless of how people felt about him, he understood how to keep pushing that button to trigger people on social media, to get them to talk about them, to get them to talk about him. So even if they hate that person, they still aren't going to have a choice but to talk about that person, which makes them become bigger and bigger regardless. Whether it be him putting out the album that he titled the album I'm Gay. That's what he titled the album. Then also whether it be the cooking dance from back in the day, for anybody that remembers that, and just every little thing he does, also flooding the market with content, flooding social media with content. He wasn't the first artist to do that necessarily, but he was one of the earlier artists to get on that wave of oversaturating the market with content, and it worked out well for him. Like again, on an underground level, like kids, like all the kids my age, like all of us, like it was just, it felt like must see TV, even though it's not on TV at all. It was on the internet, on social media. So those are a few people that I thought would be considered social media pioneers in hip hop. I'm sure there's maybe some people I left off the list that you would want to put on the list. Let me know who are some other people that should also be thrown into that conversation.